So I can't say for sure I completely know how I feel about this book because I'm a little bit all over the map about it, but I'm gonna try and put it into a concise grouping of words so that I can almost kind of get my thoughts across, even if I don't know what my thoughts are. Hi guys, it's April, and I'm gonna do this review the same way I do all of my other reviews. I'm gonna have the non-spoilery section up front, followed by the spoiled filled dump afterwards, because I need to get words out, and I know some people don't necessarily want that extra dumpage, so choose your own adventure. It's all up to you guys. I will also note that I received a copy of Mermaid Moon by Susann Cokal for a free and honest review, and that in no way swayed my opinion on this book. They are all my own, and I am not terrified of letting you guys know that. I've been doing this long enough at this point that I'm not holding back. So Mermaid Moon centers around a Sievish girl named Sana who has set out on a quest to the landish people in search of her mother. She has been sent out by the sea witch of her flock on a mission to bring something back. She doesn't necessarily know what the something is, she just knows that this witch will know what it is when she brings it back. This story spins The Little Mermaid on its head, and it also adds in a few little other fairy tale elements that I really liked. The writing style is absolutely phenomenal. It feels very much like a modern fairy tale. It has the feel of the traditional Grimm fairy tales, but it has a lot of modern themes and ideas woven throughout. This story very much does not shy away from dealing with sexuality, different races, and gender inequality. Throughout Sana's journey into learning about the landish people, she starts to come to some realizations. She has a lot of preconceived notions, especially at the very beginning, that irked me a little bit. That is one thing I have to say about this book. A lot of the time I felt like this book was very much coding men as beasts. They were people who could not control themselves. They were the villains of the story. They were someone that could not be trusted by any means. This is a very female power heavy story at times. And while I love the fact that it is women supporting women in some instances, it came at the cost of belittling men a lot of the time, especially how the sheevish people viewed their male counterparts. And a lot of the time you could definitely tell that they assumed they were more superior to the landish people. And maybe because I had two legs, I found that hard to swallow, especially since some of their culture had some moments that just didn't seem right either. And they just made the assumption about the land people that just was uncomfortable and not very fun to read. So there were some of those moments that I really wasn't enjoying the read, but then it got to a point in the story where things just really picked up and you had this flux of magic come in and you got this head-to-head battle from multiple different fronts that really captured me and started to really pull the story along. So I did enjoy points of this book, especially the feel of this story. There were just points where I feel like the story was trying to oversell an idea and it took away from the story itself. However, if you do like darker mermaid stories, if you like Little Mermaid retellings that have somewhat of a darker twist to it, I think you will very much enjoy this read. However, if you are looking for something light and fluffy and something that doesn't get as grotesque as this book does, because there are points where it does get a little descriptive about certain things, then you probably want to steer clear of this one. So this is the point in my review in which I'm going to go into some spoiled filled thoughts about things that happened. If you want to read this book and don't want to spoil yourself, completely understand. Just let me know down below so I can go and stalk you later and see what you thought of the book. Otherwise, feel free to stick around because words are about to come out of my mouth as if they haven't been for the last I don't know how many minutes. I did mention that my biggest critique about this book was its view on men. I did like seeing the fact that the Sievish society was matriarchal instead of patriarchal, so that gave them a different kind of look on life. But the fact that most of the time they kept on talking about men as if they couldn't control themselves. And part of it is it's probably because they've only met men who couldn't. And then they translated that into the fact that since the landish people were very patriarchal and they always smelled like dead meat, that they weren't all together there and they were worse off than the Sievish people. And the way that the societies are set up, it very much looks like that, because you have the class system of the landish people. So you have people who are suffering and struggling for food. And then you have this society of thievish people who seem to have their crap together, but you also have these very vain creatures and these very dark-hearted creatures who are very much willing to pull people to their deaths just because it's better them first before they get us. That is a mentality one can take, I guess, if you're living under the ocean and it's either eat or be eaten. It's probably gonna take me a while to process some of the things in this book because a lot of it seemed unnecessarily mean one direction or the other. And I understand why a lot of these modern fairy tales pits magic against some kind of form of Christianity, mostly Catholicism, because that is the time in which these kind of fairy tales, these kind of magic ideas and mythologies were starting to butt heads against Christian ideologies. And so a lot of times these stories are pitted against each other. But there are points in this book that I almost wondered if it wasn't necessary. Because even if you pulled those religious ideas out of this book, it was still the same book. So the addition of trying to pit these things against each other felt unnecessary, especially at the end when they started to bleed together. Maybe there was something more there that the author was trying to say. I just felt like it was trying to grab onto an idea that all of the other ones always seem to have and not just necessarily driving its own points. I don't know. Those are just a few of my thoughts. Of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, so please leave me some comments. I read them, I respond to them, and of course, if you want to stay up to date with every time I upload, subscribe, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.